My name is Gary Daley. I am a sales manager representative for Del Valve USA, and I'm excited to be here on the catwalk.
The Catwalk is proud to partner with Second Story Co-working in downtown Midland. With shared Wi-Fi and free coffee refills, Second Story can help connect you with like-minded business leaders. Visit today at secondstory.co. There is a powerful story behind every brand. The mission is to make storytelling easier so you can grow your business. Connect today at thecatwalkmediagroup.com. Follow The Catwalk on all your favorite social media platforms. Watch new content on YouTube or listen in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and now on iHeartRadio. I am so grateful that you guys are joining with us again this week. Big shout out to Chris on the controls as always. And sitting across from me is my good friend Gary Daley. Gary, welcome to The Catwalk.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
We are so excited that you're on. I know this is World Series baseball time, and you have a little bit of a background in baseball. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I don't want the Dodgers to win, I can tell you that much.
Oh, so you're a Yankees fan in this series.
I was a Giants fan growing up, so Dodgers are a big no-no.
So you're from California?
I am from California. I'm from Northern California, a little small town up in the foothills near Truckee called Grass Valley.
Okay.
So spent my whole life there rooting for the Giants, not the Dodgers.
Well, we're going to jump into your backstory and get your journey of how you got to Midland, but I want to talk about your baseball career because it's World Series time.
Yeah.
Right? And I love baseball.
Okay.
I've seen you play because you were with the Rockhounds.
Yep.
Drafted by the Oakland Athletics.
I was actually drafted by the Cardinals.
By the Cardinals?
Yes.
How did you get to Oakland?
I was released, I think, around 2009 by the Cardinals, and then I was immediately picked up by Oakland as a minor league free agent, they call it.
What do you think about Oakland going to Las Vegas?
I don't know. I think I hate to see a city lose any sports franchise because I think they bring value to the city. They bring value to the economy of the city.
Yeah.
If it's all done right. So I'm a little disappointed they couldn't figure that out. It was always I saw Oakland Athletic games too because it was let's just say since it was a lot cheaper ballpark to go watch a game in.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little disappointing, but it's business and I understand probably why they had to do it.
What was your number?
Oh man.
Remember? Did you
So
have multiples?
I grew up multiple numbers from affiliation, single A, double A,
Right.
triple A, kind of just it's kind of what you end up with sometimes, especially in minor league baseball. And I actually never grew up being like overly attached to any one number. It was a weird thing. I still am not. Like my kids play sports now, and
Right.
I think we just threw threes on their back. Like my son's been 30 and my daughter's been 3 because that was their birth dates, and that's all we.
Just fit.
Yeah, it just fit.
funny.
So it's just I never had that kind of attachment to a number. Maybe 23 because I love Michael Jordan, but not for myself.
Ooh,
So
that's a good pick.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of our listeners and viewers may not know much about your past in baseball, so I brought your stats
Okay.
with you so we could discuss.
not very
some of
good.
those.
No,
So,
it's all right.
So you're a pitcher.
Yep.
Throw right.
Yep.
Bat right. Mm-hmm. Right. I think you were a 250 hitter and you had one home run in your career. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you remember that home run?
I do. It was the first time I ever bat in a minor league game.
Really?
It was in Double A Tulsa. Yeah. I think I hit the first pitch out too. Yeah.
Kind of like Freddie Freeman the other night. So,
Yeah. Oh man, don't get me started. My dad was here this weekend. And we were watching that, and
It was
we
killing
we talked about it for the next 2 hours. Why did he throw that pitch?
Why didn't he throw that? You were 35-51 with a 6.0 ERA.
Yeah.
451 strikeouts. Mm-hmm. So would you prefer Nolan or Roger Clemens as the strikeout king?
Always Nolan Ryan.
Really?
Always. Yeah. He's probably from a pitching standpoint in baseball. That's who I idolize. That's who I still idolize, quite honestly.
Really?
Yeah. I have pretty passionate feelings about the way the game is played now versus then and the way it's pitched now versus then, and there's no one better at what he did.
Right.
And the way he went about his business, and it was evident 27 years in the big leagues.
What's different today in baseball than was when you were there?
Well, obviously, I think everyone knows the analytics of the game has created a whole different environment for coaches and the way they try to attack hitters. The way that they utilize pitchers, too. Pitchers I believe that they've become more throwers than they were pitchers. They want every pitch to be max effort, max velocity, max spin rates.
Yeah.
And then they also narrow the scope of which they want you to be able to throw because they're trying to find an ideal window for you to throw out of with 2 pitches, especially relievers.
Yeah.
So it's just before there were guys that threw hard and did all that. Nolan Ryan was one of them, but they could always pitch too, and they wanted to pitch, and they threw the ball in and out, and they tried to pick one side of the plate that they were going to own versus a hitter. Nowadays, if you watch the game, everything's usually up and down.
Okay.
Guys are very comfortable in the box for how high the velocity is in the game. They weren't comfortable when Nolan Ryan pitched.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
So
I saw his 5,000th strikeout, and I saw one of his 7th no-hitters. I think it was his 7th one.
no way.
Yeah, it was at Arlington.
Really?
We had skipped church to go see him play. And I was like, I can't tell anybody that I was at the 7th no-hitter because I skipped church that night.
I don't know. I think
I think it was a good excuse. What do you think of the pitch clock?
I hate to see. I don't think it's been terribly bad for the game. I mean, It seems to have increased the speed of the game. I don't like the fact that the game can't police itself. I think that there could have been a lot of things done from the overall perspective of the way people hit and things like that. Like, for example, they had to create rules on the shift. Hitters could have fixed that problem easily.
Right.
Stop trying to lift and pull the ball every time. Just you hit the ball down the line 10 times for 10 doubles in a row, I bet you don't shift on you anymore.
Yeah.
So the overall kind of policing of the game and creating these regulations to try to create a better experience or basically ratings, because their ratings were dropping. I hate to see that.
That's the reason.
Yeah. I think, and it's just, I mean, at the end of the day, that's why they did it. They saw ratings drop. They saw viewership drop during the regular season.
Yeah.
If anything, if I had a opinion about it or an idea, it would be drop the amount of regular season games, add more postseason games. Postseason's the best baseball. Guys run hard to first base every single time. They dive for every single ball. You notice more errors in the postseason because guys are pressured more on defense.
Wow.
They strike out. They seem to strike out a little bit less. So it's just.
Unless you're Aaron Judge.
Well, yes.
In the postseason. How fast can you throw?
So I could get up to like 97, 98 when I got drafted. I always threw pretty hard. I was better when I moved the ball. I would sink the ball and throw 92, 93.
Yeah.
That was when I was at my best. But I could throw, if I wanted to, pretty hard.
Today, how fast?
Oh, not very fast. I go outside to throw a football or play catch with my son, and it hurts.
Good. It hurts.
Yeah, I worry more about just keeping it intact till my son's old enough. I got to throw BP or something like that. So,
are you ever, when you go to like a carnival or a theme park or something, and are you ever encouraged to walk past that little carny guy that's got the speedometer or the radar gun, and you're like, yeah, watch this. I'm gonna show everybody.
Maybe I used to be, not anymore.
I used to love that. That's how I started collecting the little plastic helmets.
Yeah.
Do you remember those back in the day? So I'd go to Six Flags.
Yeah.
And I would throw the radar gun there, and I'd be like, oh, 64, that's awesome. You're going to be major league. And I would get the collect. It was impressive to all the girls and stuff. But I thought if you throw, you probably could still hum it pretty good today.
I probably, once I got loose, I feel like I could.
Did you strike me out? Probably. The answer is
yes. Let's just put it this way. I'd either strike you out or I'd accidentally hit you these days. That was kind of my weakness, was my ability to locate or keep consistent location in terms of my career.
Favorite baseball movie?
Oh, Major League by far.
Oh, perfect. Good answer.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to go Moneyball because of Oakland.
No.
But Major League, great.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of that direction of the game in terms of statistics. And I played in both organizations. And there is I played in the Cardinals organization. I played in the A's organization. And I saw a difference in the cultures
Yeah.
The Cardinals was similar to the Yankees. They believe in winning a championship is the end-all, be-all. That's what their goal is every year. The A's was it felt like a business always to me. There was every transaction was a business decision based on what was best for their market and everything like that.
You probably signed a lot of autographs, so I'm going to ask
Yes.
you, whose autograph have you ever gotten?
Personally,
Yeah.
Dusty Baker's. I went
Yeah.
to his camp twice when I was 10 or 11. You want to talk about a wonderful human being and a wonderful camp for kids that he did when I was – so that would have been 1995, Giants manager. It was one of the best experiences of my life. We'd get to go to a game. They'd take us from Sacramento to San Francisco. We'd go see a Giants game. We'd meet Dusty Baker, some of the players. He'd spend time with us. Barry Bonds, I feel like I got his autograph.
Yeah.
JT Snow. Now, just from kind of a passed down context, I had Ted Williams' autograph on a ball from my my uncle.
Yeah.
So my grandpa played in the Pacific Coast League, and then he probably would have made the big leagues, but he had my dad, and back then you didn't make a whole lot of money, went to work. But his brother played with the Red Sox with Ted Williams for a couple of years. Yeah.
That's awesome.
My great-grandma used to always tell me the story about when they saw, I believe it was Babe Ruth retire. They were there for the ceremony and all that stuff because her son was playing. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I've got Nolan's autograph, so I don't let that one go anywhere.
No, I wouldn't either.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey, thanks for kind of diving into some of that history of your baseball career and stuff, and I appreciate you sharing that. Let's dive into your story.
Okay.
California.
Yeah.
Get me to Midland.
California. Born and raised there. Spent my whole life in a little old mining town up near Truckee, California. It's called Grass Valley. It kind of borders another town called Nevada City. I mean, we're talking maybe 12,000 people. Great town. Went to high school, Nevada Union. I played basketball, played baseball. I swam in my life. I think I played volleyball my freshman year in high school. I did not play baseball. I was just kind of a little burnt out, and so I went and did something else. Played a little football. I didn't play my junior and senior year because I was finally starting to focus more on baseball, so I just played baseball and basketball. And then I was always good at baseball. I was never overly big or anything, not until I was a younger kid. I graduated high school when I was 17. Back then, parents didn't just we're going to hold you back to create that right age point. So I did pretty well in high school, and I got a scholarship to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Okay.
Went there, played freshman, sophomore, junior year, never redshirted or anything. And at that point is where I really started. I think freshman year, 85 miles an hour when I got to school, I was probably 85 to 88. And then the coach that I had, we had an unbelievable coaching staff, the best coaches I've ever had in my life, Larry Lee and Jerry Weinstein. And Jerry Weinstein, he was like an older guy, but he was all into the new techniques of throwing, how to create more velocity, all the training. And I jumped from 88 to 93 overnight. And then by the time I was a junior, I was throwing 98. I had an okay junior year, probably not as good as I could have had. I also probably didn't focus enough on baseball and working on baseball as I should have. And then I got drafted by the Cardinals in the third round. Went and played there, bounced from A-ball there, Florida. I was in Springfield, Missouri in Double-A. And then I actually went through for about a year and a half. I had the yips, which was an interesting experience. It was a very trying experience. I learned a lot about myself in that process. But in all that, I kind of figured it out again. Didn't quite totally get consistent. Got released by the Cardinals, picked up by the A's, and I spent, I think, another 3 years. But that's what brought me to Midland. Spent 2 full seasons here. And then I met my wife, I think, into my last season here in Midland. I got released right before the year was about over, and it
was July 5th, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, do I want to keep doing this? I think I was 9 years into it. I was kind of ready to settle down, not be on buses, things like that. I had met Casey. So I decided, I think that's it. I'm done. Well, then I started looking around, and I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So staying in Midland was honestly, it was an awesome option. I had work experience, just work, but nothing serious, no careers. And being here was a great place to really jumpstart my career. And that's how I landed in Midland.
So you were released. It was July 5th
Yep.
of 2012, 13?
2013.
13?
Yes.
Okay. I remember that because my wife's birthday is on July 5th.
Yes.
So you were released on that,
Yeah.
on that day. So you went straight into oil and gas work, or did you kind of bounce around a little bit to find your place?
No, I had a very, very fortunate situation happen to me. I think I waited about a month. I actually had an offer to go play in South Korea. My agent called me like 6 weeks later, and I didn't take it. But my wife had some friends. She was in the business already. I think she was at Apache then, and she made a couple phone calls, and I just pretty much ran into an inside sales position at a company called Energy Sales. Went and met with a guy I interviewed with, who we've now become good friends, and got the job and started in the warehouse, just learning the business, learning that part of the industry, and then just worked really hard for probably 3 or 4 years, and they kept giving me opportunity after opportunity. And I got closer to the owners and the president, and was just able to learn everything about the business, the industry, business in general. It was a very, very hands-on learning experience for me. And I stayed there for 10 years. I was there from 2013 until, February of this year. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're doing what now?
So now I'm kind of, the company I was with, we were a rep. So we rep manufacturers and production and facility equipment, ball valves, fittings, pretty much everything to dress out a facility. So I jumped to a manufacturer where we strictly do manufacture ball valves, butterfly valves, we do actuation, and pretty much everything from midstream pipeline, high pressure gas stuff to a 1/4 inch kind of chemical, full stainless steel ball valve.
You travel quite a bit, right?
I don't actually have to travel that much, honestly. Most of my work is here. I'm focused on just getting in with operators that don't have our product on their AML. So trying to get them introduced to our product, get them to know about it. We manufacture out of India, so I did get to go to India. That was an experience. But we manufacture out of India, and it's a privately owned company, and they own everything, all their engineering, all their drawings. It's crazy. You go over there, and they got like 700 people working, and it's like a family though. Right. Everyone knows everybody. They all work extremely. It's one of the hardest working cultures I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's one of the nicest cultures I've ever seen too.
Nicer than Midland, right?
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong.
You can be.
I miss the mountains,
be honest.
but I actually love the people in Texas.
Yeah.
I really do.
From a California guy to Texas.
Yeah,
I
I had a really good place where I grew up. Everyone was nice and kind, and it was a tight-knit community, but I feel the same sense here. This is about as big a place I'd ever want to live, but I don't feel like there's not a person that if you really needed something that wouldn't try to help you out. Yeah. That's what I feel like about Texas all the time. So,
what are some things maybe that you took from baseball, maybe some life lessons? You know, everybody says sports is great to learn life lessons and stuff. What did you take from your experience in the major leagues or in the minor leagues to where you are now?
Oh, man, a lot. So I know I mentioned it when I was in college. I probably didn't focus enough on baseball, but I think the entire probably in the minor leagues too is the same thing. Like, I really took a long time to grow up and mature. I don't even think I was done maturing. I mean, I'm never done maturing, but it took me a while even into marriage. But I think one of the biggest things is to put off instant gratification for anything. To really, like, there's a lot of things that you can do in life that will be great and fun in the moment, and they'll last 5 hours and then it'll be over. And it's just, at the end of the day, there's things that if you delay are better suited for the people around you and are better suited for your future self. And that's probably the biggest lesson I took from everything, that I just really wanted to just be in the moment, and everyone says live in the moment, and I'm like, yeah, that's important, but I think the meaning behind that would be to enjoy the moment in terms of being happy in the moment always, not just to say, yeah, that sounds like fun, let's do that, because everything that you do has a consequence and a reaction and all the stuff like that. So
How do you handle, or how did you handle setbacks? Maybe like when you were playing and gave up that big hit and knew that that was the game-winning home run, just like the other night in the World Series. How'd you handle those setbacks?
I felt like those were the things that I don't think bothered me the most. I think the things that bothered me the most usually were I probably trying to figure out how I probably focused too much on fear of the future failure versus putting forth whatever effort and attitude and focus you have in that moment, because you have no control over whether you might fail. And so that's probably one of the things I learned from all those setbacks is like, yeah, I would fail. It didn't necessarily bother me like in abundant amount emotionally. I think the overarching just failure bothered me for a while, but looking back on it, I tried to find lessons in it. And I think that in all of that, I feared just failure in general too much. So I walked into a lot of moments and times where you can take advantage of and things like that, worrying about what could happen versus worrying about that pitch or just that moment that you get to be in and enjoying it. And I think that understanding came later too, when I've honestly found God and got closer to Him and realized what is really important in life, and His ability to just all those things in sports are so important, but at the end of the day, they are just sports. And I think and sometimes was playing for the wrong reasons, trying to get to the next level or trying to make money or things like that versus just going out and doing everything I could that God gave me and glorifying Him, seeing what happens. So
Do you find that's the same now in business and being a dad and a parent and a coach for your kids' teams, that your focus needs to shift to what He wants to do rather than maybe what it was when you were in your playing days?
100%, yeah. I think all the things I experienced as a young man, teenager to now, and the things how I failed, I don't want to try to hover over my kids so they don't have their own failures, but I also want to help be open and honest and transparent with them about everything that I walk through as a testimony to them. And hopefully the first thing that I ever do to them is be a disciple before them for God and help them on their journey and their relationship with Him to find Him first. Because, like I said, sports are so important. And I coached my son's flag football team. I've coached my daughter's basketball team. And there's so many lessons that these boys get to learn, boys or girls get to learn from them. But I think just that number one lesson is making sure that he's always first. Because if he's always first, it's kind of things, they kind of take care of themselves, it seemed like.
You guys are really involved in the community.
Yeah.
I know I've seen you at a couple of events. I know your wife is very involved with the Boys and Girls Club and some other things. How important is it for you as a dad to lead your family in serving in the community?
It is vitally important. I think setting an example to my kids to try to show that the community is all of us together, and that it's important for them to understand that they're very fortunate. And they've been very blessed. Me and my wife have been blessed. And however we can give back to kids that might not be as fortunate or might have parents that have to work different jobs, different hours. And, us being involved in the Boys and Girls Club is a great way to express that too. It's we enjoy, our kids have been up to the club when we've had things going on up there. My wife has been way more hands-on in fundraising and things like that in the gala that she has helped produce and put on. I'm on our Midland board. And it's really just making sure that we as board members and all that always have a financial place, stability for these kids to be every day. We serve I couldn't even tell you the numbers. It's an astonishing amount of kids every single day from 3:30 in the afternoon till 7:30 at night, I think it is. And our kids are kind of starting to get old enough to really understand that and know that, and I think they're seeing that too. Because they'll ask us like, man, why is mommy gone again tonight? And I'm like, well, your mother is doing something that is helping young kids who might not be able to, I don't know, have someone help them with their homework because their mom has to work late or something of that nature. Yeah. So
what are some practices that you put into play to become a better dad, a better coworker, friend? What are some of those daily routines that you practice?
So one of the biggest things I try to always be involved in, me and I'm always involved in some type of men's Bible study group. Mm-hmm. I try to make sure that I have accountability in my life with other men in terms of how we go about things. I try to have someone in my life who is a mentor too as well that I can bounce things off of. Mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest things from a parent perspective that I've tried to be I continue to learn from is being self-aware in regards to I'm going to be a human being and I'm going to fail as a parent, but that's okay. Being able to know that you can tell your kids, sorry, I failed in this situation, but I'm going to get better, and we're all going to learn from it together. I think it helps them realize that they're going to fail too at some point in life and that we're all flawed human beings, and then we can all grow in this together. But it's tough, man. There's something new that comes up every day as a parent. And I think just also having conversations with other parents, your parent, you have all these different seasons as a parent from where you run into, from grades that you're in to seasons in your kid's age life and different scenarios that come up and, asking other parents, hey, what did you do here? Like, what was this experience like for you? How did you go about dealing with this? What was the conversations you had with your kids? Something as simple of like, how old do you think it's okay to give your kid a phone? Just trying to figure out, navigate all those waters and not thinking that you're alone in it. It's just like anything else. You go to church and there's probably 15 other guys that might be struggling with the same thing you might be struggling with because you're never alone. We all have similar flaws and faults. And so having that community to bounce things off of and run ideas off of is just, it's so important to me.
I've got a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
22-year-old.
Yeah.
19-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at a different stage of life of parenting. When you said the thing about the phone, I'm like, yeah, phones weren't that big of a deal back when my kids.
The hybrid kids kind of, huh?
Yeah. So your kids are how old?
I got an 8-year-old daughter who's in 3rd grade, and I got a 5-year-old son who's in kindergarten.
Okay. So if you were to give some advice to a new parent, they've just came home from the hospital or they're 1 month in, a year in, they've got a lot to look forward to when their kids are at 8. Yeah. Right? And you've got a lot to look forward to when your kids are 19 and 25, like mine. What would you say to that new parent? What would your advice be?
Ooh. Take a nap when the kid's napping. No, I think just
write that down.
Always find a balance between love and discipline. It's very easy to overlove our children and think that we are their best friends and think that we need to affirm everything that's going on in their life and need to protect them from every single thing that could possibly go wrong. And just finding the balance between loving on them as much as possible and doing what we're called to do as parents from God. I mean, to me, we're kind of just one of God's vessels when we bring kids into this world. It's His creation. Those kids are His, and we're here to follow Him in a sense. So I always look at it as, how does God father or mother you? And follow that path, the same thing. And it's a balance between love and discipline and conversations and being as transparent as possible with them, I think, to the extent they understand. At every moment of their life, they're going to understand a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Just be transparent with them, be open with them, talk to them. Because I know me and my wife, our goal is, at the end of the day, we hope that no matter what our kids run into, the problems they have, the failures that they have, they will come talk to us. They'll say, hey, I messed up. Something happened. I made a bad choice, whatever it may be. and we can go help them navigate how they deal with the consequences of that choice, or how they own up to that choice, or face whatever might come at them from that choice. So,
how do you and Casey balance work and family life?
Pretty well. We're fortunate. We're both in sales positions. And we both have companies that we work for that value family, I believe. I know her company does, and they're a local company. They're based out of Odessa. So I know that they value family. They have families, and it's important to them. So that's an awesome balance that we're able to work on. Mine is the same way. And us being both working, we're communication. I think that's the biggest thing. Making sure you're communicating about who's doing this or who's doing this. Never keeping tally marks on who did more this week or who did less, because it's always going to change and shift. I think I can best probably give my advice from a place of we both work. So how some other people from a father perspective do it, I don't know, because their work might be more demanding or less demanding. I'm fortunate enough. I got told by my mentor to always make sure that God is first, and then your wife, and then your kids, and then work. So I mean, work is valuable and it's important and it has to be done, but those things always come before work. Yeah, always.
One of my favorite movies of all time is The Rookie.
Yeah,
Dennis Quaid. And as I'm listening to you talk, I'm remembering back to some of those scenes in the movie and stuff in his life on the road, in the bus. I think you mentioned earlier you were so glad that the days of being on the bus are over with. Do you have a story that comes to mind from your playing days that has stuck with you?
In regards to just
life?
A moment or life or... I always go back to, I remember, I think, and I wish I would have been more in tune with what I was hearing at the time. I really do, because I think it was in like 2008. I was pretty early in my career, and I listened to Adam Wainwright talk to our entire minor league group. And it was about God. And I just remember just sitting there listening and almost kind of my heart being pulled at, but I didn't want to go with it yet. And it was him talking, but I felt God pulling on me. And I always remember listening to him, his conviction that he talked with about God, and the foundation of his morals and his ideals that he lived by, and it didn't change regardless of any situation he was in. And I just remember how, now that I look back on it, how much that I am glad that I'm maturing and growing to create that base and that foundation for those things too, because watching someone with that much conviction and listening to him, I think at a young age, you're kind of like, all right, this guy's supposed to give a speech, yada, 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 but it's who he is. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I hope regardless of where I end up in life or however much money I make or successful I am or successful my kids are, like, that's one of the things I think you look for as a man. Like, did I live my life with a foundational base of morals and principles that I stuck by and I was convicted by, and I did what I was supposed to do.
So Adam Wainwright.
Yes.
He was a pitcher, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does Midland, especially for young men, what does Midland and young men need more of?
I'm trying to, I think that my hope is that we continue to reach out from a level of, I think more, honestly, sometimes I think more discipling and mentorship with people. Like, I think we have a lot of young men who have really good hearts, and I think their hearts are opened up a lot of times, and they're ready to hear more about God. And I think some of them heard plenty about Him, but I think that we all need to use our relational collateral that we have with people. And I take that term from my friend Dustin as a place of, instead of throwing out drag nets to try to fish for men in terms of that, if you're going to use that term, use the collateral that you have in your relationships and your friendships to make sure that you are able to be a disciple to other people. And I think that we all have that ability to grow God's kingdom at any point in time. And being that example, being that foundation, is something that I think we could all continue to do better at. I know, everyone goes to church on Sunday, and not everyone, but a lot of people do. But I think that just us constantly pulling and pushing on people who we know. I mean, I just always think about how many times in a day do you just run into somebody and you feel the need, like you want to ask them, like, how are you doing today? Not like, how was your day or how's your week, but no, how are you really doing? Like, what do you got going on in your life? Is there something, is there ever anything you want to talk about? How are you spiritually? How's your relationship with God? And just being kind of more direct about it sometimes. I know I struggle with it, and it's something I try to work on all the time. But also I think accountability to who we are. I think more men need to be transparent and open about what we struggle with and how do we grow from those struggles. We all fail. We all fall short. And owning them and saying that, I'm struggling today and I need someone that can hold me accountable to what I'm struggling with, knowing that they're going to kind of help prop me up for today so I can get through it, and then we'll be on to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well,
I appreciate your time being here. I want to wrap things up
Yeah.
pretty much, and appreciate getting to know you. If there was a pitcher's walk-up song, what would that be?
Oh, for me,
I know hitters have them, but
I don't know if there was a better one than Mariano Rivera had with Enter Sandman.
yeah, that was good.
That was it, man.
That was good.
When he would come in the game, there was nothing better to watch than that guy
That's
coming
true.
into a game.
That's true. All right, final two questions. I know we're sitting here having this conversation. I think you've alluded to some of this, but I kind of want you to just kind of sum it up. But I'm a huge advocate in we choose who we allow people to talk into our life and speak into us. Who is it for you? Who is one or two people that you allow to speak into your life?
I allow to speak into my life in regards to what's going on around me, who are close to me. Dustin Pierce is one of them. My mentor previously, he recently moved, but Steve Moody was one of them. I think at any point in time, though, I try to listen as best as I can to what's going on around me and who the people are around me. I know from a business perspective, Jimmy Rourke is a very good person that I allow to speak into my life. It's someone who I lean on in questions. He was the person who owned the business I work for, him and his partner. I've recently become really close with I've really appreciate the relationship that I've grown with our president, Midland Christian, Dr. Anderson. He's been an unbelievable change to the school and just a valuable source of just godly information and wisdom. That's been pretty awesome to me too, I feel like. So that's been a cool friendship to create. But I think those are kind of most of the guys that are people that I would allow to speak into my life. But I also try not to just not listen to everybody. I want to hear everyone's perspective. Everyone has a story. Everyone's been through so much and experienced so much in their life that it's important to listen and be aware of those experiences. So,
what do you want to be known for?
In this community, the most important thing to me lately has been kind of a broad idea that we started in our parent advisory council at school about empowering our parents to lead again. So we're working on starting a group of parents it's called Our Job First, and it's really has to do with remembering that it's not the school's job to lead our kids. They're only with them 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. We have them every other moment.
Yeah.
And bringing that parenting aspect back to a community level. I really believe deeply in that, like I talked about earlier. So it's something that we've been working on and building, and it's really, like I said, it's empowering parents to lead and giving them the opportunity to remember that there's no one way to do it. There is no book. I mean, the only book that I would lean on for parenting advice is the Bible, because God does it best. He parents us every day. And if we can bring all of the things that our kids are going to walk through and deal with in life, which is a whole heck of a lot more than I had, and I'm sure you realize that you had, they have so much vast wealth of knowledge and things that they don't need to know about or don't need to see. at their fingertips now, that there's just so much that we have to deal with as parents with kids, that we need to be a community. We need to stick together. We need to be here, and not just your own kids too. It's about every other kid that you see, or every other kid that walks into your life, and bringing that back to the community as parents, and bringing us back to a place where we can talk about all the problems that we have and open and engage in conversation with parents. I think it's important to me. It's honestly something that I think about probably more than anything else, and I'm really looking forward to see where it goes and to see how it turns out, and I'm hoping, God willing, it turns out how he wants it to be, and I think it'll be a powerful movement from a grassroots level.
Well, I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. This is former Midland Rockhound pitcher Gary Daley. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining with us. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you like, share, and subscribe on all of our platforms. Big shout out again to Chris over on the controls. Second Story Co-working for the great studio space. We will see you all next week.